Hello and welcome to the Halloween edition of All Things AWS, the tech show that aims to demystify all sorts of spooky topics. I'm your humble host, Rudy Chetty, and I'm your guide to exploring everything that can help you start deploying new and existing workloads onto Amazon Web Services. And to give you a bit of a background, I'm a principal solutions architect with over 18 years of information technology experience. I actually started off as a Java developer, so I've done my fair share of coding too. Those late nights, fixing bugs, lots of coffee and snacks, I must say. Wait, how many coders do we have on Twitch right now? Let us know in the chat. In fact, what's your favorite programming language? Let's greet everyone. Hey Aaron, hey Edwin, Aaron Girl. We've got Unproven Facts, Vinamani, Loaf, Carl Dew. Man, so many people. I love it, I love it. If this is your first time watching us, you're in for a treat, not a trick. Each episode has a theme, and we try to align all segments with that theme. And as for segments, we have interviews with AWS customers who get to share their AWS journey, interviews with AWS folks so you can hear insider stories, a learning segment so you can get up to speed on the latest AWS services and features, and a few mystery segments which involve the element I am most fond of, fun. Simply put, we're your late night alternative to learning about Amazon Web Services. Verstaan jy? That's Afrikaans for, do you understand? Oh, and just a reminder that if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the Twitch chat. We'll answer some of them live during the show, aided by our team of helpful moderators. In fact, Twitch, what's your favorite AWS service? Let us know in the chat. Let's see. Did anyone mention it? Oh, there we go. Java, JavaScript, Node.js. Thank you, Ed. Man, we got so many people here. Oh, Afrikaans. Hoe gaan dit, Rudy? Dit gaan baie goed, dankie, Rensburg. Well, now, on to the topic for this episode, and it's one of my favorites, the Internet of Things, or IoT for short. The Internet of Things is defined as any network or networks of devices or things that are communicating with each other and systems over the internet. These can be sensors, microcontrollers, physical objects, low-powered hardware, or even more complex devices like your own smartphone. And the AWS service you can use to connect all of these devices is called AWS IoT Core. AWS IoT Core allows you to connect and scale your device fleets easily without provisioning or managing servers. That's right, folks, it's serverless, no servers to manage. Even better is that we allow you to choose your preferred communication protocol like MQTT, HTTPS, and LoRaWAN. And since security is a top priority for AWS, you can secure these device connections with mutual authentication and end-to-end encryption. But it doesn't stop there, because what is IoT without analysis? Once you've gotten your data into AWS, you can filter, transform, and act upon device data on the fly, based on your business-defined rules. What this all translates into is the ability to build smart homes, connected vehicles, industrial automation, and more. I mean, how many of you at home have an Amazon Echo? I mean, I do, look, and I've connected it to almost all the lights in my house. So I could, for example, say, Alexa, turn off living room. And then, whoops, okay, sorry, Alexa, turn lights on. Okay, it's a bit spooky here. And just like that, it's magic and the lights are turned back on. I mean, how cool is that? I can even control my fan and thermostats all with the power of my voice. And the best part is that it's all done over IoT. How many of you have connected your house with IoT? Let us know in the chat. In fact, let's check it out. Oh, we got Amazon AppStream as McBoomface's favorite AWS service. Dandylock, Amazon SimpleDB. That is a good service. Step functions for Fatman566. Too many favorite services for Big Jimmy here. Oh, we got all these lovely comments here. Love the idea. Cool learning, AppFlow rules, AWS Amplify from Nar4 Ninja. Lord Darth Steel. We've got so many cool folks on here. Thank you for joining us. And look, all these services. They're all very neat, right? But what's also neat is our first guest, who is coming off fresh from battling the forces of evil, Ivar the Destructor. Ivar, welcome. It's pretty awesome to have an AWS customer and, more impressively, a real-life warrior on the show. How are you faring on the battlefield these days?
Hoo-ha! Rudy, us warriors are a fierce bunch. We go on quests and storm into battle using our swords and trusty shields. In fact, I use my trusty shield to block incoming attacks. It's a very effective defense mechanism. However, Rudy, what you don't know is that I also throw my shield offensively at my enemies.
Wow, that sounds epic. I mean, not everyone can throw a shield with pinpoint accuracy. I think some of us, myself included, marvel at that feat.
The problem is that sometimes my shield gets lost in battle, and I cannot locate it till after the battle is over. Rudy, I need my shield with me at all times. That's why I came here. I want AWS to enhance my shield with Internet of Things capabilities. I will show you how to throw my shield in exchange for your help.
Wait. Let me get this straight. A battle lesson from Ivar the Destructor himself? I mean, look, you've definitely piqued my interest. More importantly, we can definitely help upgrade your shield with IoT capabilities. AWS offers IoT services and solutions to connect and manage billions of devices. So we can start with your shield and then scale out to support your entire army.
Rudy, that would be fantastic. I will crush your enemies and see them driven before you.
Ivar, that's very kind of you, but let's focus on your use case for now. Speaking of which, we're so customer obsessed, we already have a working prototype.
Wow! You work faster than Gilgamesh the Great!
Well, look, it's a bit on the bulkier side, but we'll shrink the form factor down with the custom printed circuit board once you approve.
No offense, but the shield looks like a pancake. Makes me kind of hungry. What's with all the lights and buttons?
Well, we want to make it colorful, but it sounds like we might have to get you a meal fairly quickly as well. Before we do that, let's take a look at this. And we can see that it's all controlled via this microcontroller. We've also got a screen so you can see the data in real time, and an accelerometer / gyroscope so you can see the speed of your shield when you throw it. Also the orientation on the X, Y, and Z axes. Yes, we say Z in the studio here. We've also got a GPS sensor so you can locate it on the battlefield at any time, and a temperature and humidity sensor in case someone's trying to melt your shield.
This is pure witchcraft, Rudy. But can I see this data whilst on the battlefield?
Of course, yes, we can send the data right to your risk communicator.
Oh, what about calculating the angle at which to throw my shield to knock an enemy off their feet?
Way ahead of you, Ivar. All data from the IoT device is being transferred to the AWS cloud, where we've set up a pipeline to store and analyze it.
Ha ha, Rudy! This is glorious! But wait, can my enemies see this data?
Look, no, we've created an authorized user, so only you are able to see the data. And at AWS, we take security very seriously. So we can work with you and your team to ensure proper security precautions are taken.
Yes, I am very fond of security, especially in my day job.
Ah, yes, your day job. I think our viewers would be very curious to see what you get up to between battles.
No, Rudy, it is very boring, and it is mostly just paperwork.
Nonsense. I'm sure it's not all that bad. Actually, you know what? Let's see for ourselves. We had a camera crew follow Ivar around for a few days. Let's take a look at that footage. Look, before we get to that footage of Ivar in the office, it's time to check in with Twitch. How many AWS IoT services have you used? Are there any interesting use cases you can think of that might have worked in medieval times? Maybe an IoT-powered sword or a magic potion? Let's see. Oh, we get some Greengrass IoT and RoboMaker to deploy said IoT pancakes. Thank you, Robster AZ. Hello, Tina Einkopf. Hello, NetSpeed, Fatty Lasagna. Hello to all the new people joining us on Twitch. Coco Rule. Why we got a lot of people here, and you know what? It's close to Halloween, after all. So it could be a spooky concoction that you're coming up with IoT. Maybe something. Wait, maybe something's lurking in the shadows in our studio. I think I did hear a noise, but let's check in with chat again. Anyone there? Oh, okay. We still got some people on chat, so that's good. But I mentioned shadows, and one thing I want to highlight is a feature of the AWS IoT core called device shadows. Simply put, a device shadow is a digital representation of a device's physical state, and it's bidirectional. This means it goes from the device to the cloud and from the cloud to the device. But let me expand on this a bit. Your device has a state, like if it's on or off for a light bulb. This state going from the device to the cloud is called the reported state. It's what the device has last reported. And what's important to remember is that this state is usable even when the device has gone offline. And that's because we still have a record of the device's last known state stored in the device shadow. But we mentioned bidirectional, right? So if we want to interact with the device, that's where we go from cloud to the device. This is called the desired state. And it's the state we desire the device to go into. But Twitch, it looks like spooky skeletons. I think we need a practical example to further illustrate what I mean. So remember that fan I mentioned sitting in my flat? Well, let's take these out here. We got the representation of the IoT-powered fan, and I can control it via a remote control or an application on my smartphone. And I mean, I suppose, look, this is a cool-looking fan. I must say, anyone there a big fan of it? To quote an Aerosmith song, pink is my favorite color. And this fan, as I mentioned, represents the fan in my flat, and this represents the cloud. If I turn this fan on, its state gets set to on from the device, so from here all the way to the cloud. And you know what, before, say, I leave for work, I forgot to turn the fan off. So I want to conserve electricity, so I open up the fan controller application on my phone, and I set the desired state to off. That state, so that off state, gets propagated from my phone to the cloud, and then to the fan itself, and it turns off. So the fan then sets its reported state to off, and that gets propagated back to the cloud again. So this then gets pushed to my application, and I can see on there that the fan is reporting that it is off. This makes sense, right, Twitch, right? Anyone out there in Twitch having fun with device shadows? Let us know in the chat. Looks like, oh, big pink fan, someone, doesn't matter, does it? Coco Roll, big pink fan, IoT core. Oh, Todd Barron AWS, have my M5 stack right there. Quite nice. And someone's mentioned AWS IoT Twin Maker. We're actually going to get into that. But it's time to see what Ivar gets up to in the office. Roll clip. Record profits! Another win for Ivar the Destructor! Ah, double-sided again! Ah, this is a elixir. Oh, the potion of life. Limited time. Ah, it is spam. I hate spam. To do. Pick up. Dry cleaning. Format. Hard drive. Fraternize. Who dares challenge Ivar the Destructor in the game of foosball? Anyone? Anyone? Okay then. Aha! Nolan, the number cruncher. How has the battle treated you today? Have you played the sports ball recently? The Pigskins have played against the Ravenclaws. What is your shoe size? Why are you walking away, Nolan? Do you not like Ivar the Destructor? That guy's weird. And we're back talking about IoT with the warrior himself, Ivar the Destructor. Ivar, I think it's about time we show you and the audience how we architected this solution. What do you say?
I would love to see that, Rudy. But make sure Jeff from accounting does not see it.
Oh, indeed. Let's bring up the simplified architecture diagram. If we start on the left, you can see we have sensors connected to a microcontroller, which is mounted on your shield, Ivar. Sensor data is sent to the AWS cloud, more specifically AWS IoT Core. AWS IoT Core enables customers to connect devices to AWS services and other devices. It also helps secure data and interactions, process and act upon device data, and enables applications to interact with devices even when they are offline. It even allows customers to produce low-cost Alexa built-in devices.
That is amazing. I cannot wait to ask Alexa where my shield is.
We haven't put that into your communicator just yet, but yep, it's definitely possible. And as we move through our diagram, we have an AWS IoT rule that is triggered, which sends the updates to Amazon Kinesis Data Firehose. AWS IoT rules give devices the ability to interact with other AWS services. In this case, Kinesis Data Firehose, which is a fully managed service that makes it easy to capture, transform, and load massive volumes of streaming data, like the data coming from the sensors on your shield.
Come closer, Rudy. Closer. You make it all sound so simple, brother.
That's my job, Ivar. From Firehose, we stream into Amazon Kinesis Data Analytics for pre-processing. Amazon Kinesis Data Analytics allows customers like yourself to transform and analyze streaming data in real time using Apache Flink. Real time is important because we want to make sure we get you the most up-to-date information as possible. After that, we then stream to Amazon Kinesis Data Streams, which sends it onto AWS Lambda for more processing. And in case you're wondering, AWS Lambda is a serverless event-driven compute service that lets customers run code without provisioning or managing servers.
Am I to believe that servers are bad, but serverless is good?
Indeed, but before we get onto that philosophical debate, the data is finally inserted into an Amazon DynamoDB table. Amazon DynamoDB is one of our NoSQL database services, which offers single-digit millisecond performance.
Ha 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 ha! That is fast, but not as fast as Ivar shield throw.
Whoa, careful there. We just covered data ingestion and a bit of analysis. Now for the magical part where we extract the insights from the data and have it show up on your risk communicator.
I never leave home without it.
And to access real-time data from your risk communicator, we use AWS Amplify, which allows customers to host static web resources, including HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and image files. And to secure that access, we use an authenticated Amazon Cognito user. Amazon Cognito lets customers add user sign-in, sign-up, and access control to their web and mobile apps. This means you log in with the username and password, Ivar. Remember, This is so only you can view the data and nobody else.
Yes, we don't want my enemies to know the location of my shield either.
Exactly right. And as we move along the stack, we then access relevant APIs in Amazon API Gateway, which in turn calls AWS Lambda functions. API Gateway makes it easy for developers to create, publish, maintain, monitor, and secure APIs at any scale. Got it? Finally, these Lambda functions perform any last-minute processing than the actual retrieval of the data hosted in Amazon DynamoDB. And altogether, this architecture will show you how to locate your shield on the battlefield at all times.
This is amazing! I cannot believe you built this all!
Look, Ivar, it's all about working backwards from our customers, just like you.
You are a great man. I will not forget this favor. More importantly, I will test the gadget out and let you know if I find any issues.
Awesome. Look, I'm looking forward to working with you further. And look, it's Ivar the Destructor, folks. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you for having me on your show.
We'll take a short break and be back for more. Stay tuned. Look, I think it's so cool how we're helping all sorts of customers at AWS, even Green Hat Nolan, and those from the Viking Age. And I think we've got a tell me a joke here. So I'll say, what did the skeleton say to the toilet? Even I've forgotten the punchline there, but why did the skeleton not go to the scary movie? That's a better one. Because he didn't have the guts. But I'm laughing at my own joke. So here we go. Ivar is the best student, apparently. Unproven facts. Thanks for the call out on the resemblance there. But it seems, oh, good. Okay, cool. Coco Rule laughed at the joke. We got some good jokes there. Yes, yes. Oh, actually, you know what? I remembered what the skeleton said to the toilet. He said, "Sorry, chum, no bum." I mean, it's more of a crude joke, but it might be some people's taste here. Damonator said, "Can you run IoT Core in a local zone?" Not at present, no. But man, did you see Ivar in the office? All formal with his tie? I mean, it's a pity no one wanted to play foosball with him or challenge him. They probably knew you can't beat the warrior king himself. I'm also glad it's not just me who gets inundated by spam. Seems like Coco Rule also said they don't like spam. So many spam messages in my inbox, it's hard to combat them. And just imagine spam messages going to your IoT devices. So speaking of spam or protecting your IoT devices, it's a nice segue to talk about another AWS IoT service, specifically one that is to do with security of IoT devices. It's called AWS IoT Device Defender. This service really adds that extra layer or level of protection for IoT devices. Essentially, IoT Device Defender makes it easier to protect your IoT devices. Because look, you're going to start with one device, you're going to test things out, you're going to fan out to multiple devices, maybe tens, thousands, or millions. So you're going to need a scalable way to protect them. This is where AWS IoT Device Defender comes in, and it lets you audit configurations. So if something is misconfigured, you can identify those gaps and vulnerabilities. You can also authenticate devices, so only known devices connect to AWS IoT and are able to perform actions. Better yet, you can even detect anomalies. So for example, say a device was sending 10 kilobytes of data to the AWS IoT core. All of a sudden, it spikes, and the device is sending 10 megabytes of data. Has that device been compromised? Is it just malfunctioning? IoT Device Defender can help detect those anomalies. And furthermore, it can help resolve them. So maybe the device's certificate got compromised and needs to be updated. No problemo. IoT Device Defender can help. Oh, and if you like more transparency, you can even configure alerts so you can receive alerts, whether it's in other AWS services or even your cell phone. And Twitch, chat, look, anyone had weird things happen in their systems? Maybe some gremlins or ghosts in the machine? Let us know in the chat and how you resolved that issue. Let's check it out here. We got, foosball with the Z, love it, buddy. Rochigi, flag on the... So proud of him. Okay, Device Defender, we've got some links there. Will we be getting the link to the architecture diagram, Waditya? We can send that out. Let's just send me a message on LinkedIn and I'll send you the diagram, unless we have it there ready for chat. Oh, Big Jimmy, you're telling me, what's a skeleton's favorite meal? Spare ribs. I love it. I love it. It's an amazing joke. Even that skeleton, he might not be moving, but he's cracking up. I'm telling you, he's cracking up. Anomaly detection, there you go. And look, one other thing to mention about AWS IoT Device Defender is that you can even use machine learning models or define your own device behaviors to monitor traffic from a malicious IP or, like I said, a spike in connection attempts. And at AWS, we want to make services as customizable as possible. And that's why we offer these options to customers. And I have to reiterate that you can easily mitigate security issues through built-in actions, such as updating a device certificate, as I mentioned, or quarantining a group of devices, even replacing default policies. I mean, what do you think, chat? Should I have let Ivar mention, or should I have mentioned it to Ivar, Device Defender, to him, so he knows about this additional layer of security in case his foes try to hack his army's IoT devices? Let's see. Can you test IoT devices at home? Yes, you can. And you can test them with the Raspberry Pi. I mean, that's good. Look, guess we might have to come back to the show. What do you think, Twitch? Should Ivar come back on the show? Let us know in the chat. Let us know. Oh, dad jokes, love it, love it. Some fun ideas coming through here, but since we're in a learning mood, how about we jump into another learning segment? We get lots of customers asking us how to connect their first IoT device to the AWS cloud. This can seem like a daunting task, and some people end up getting overwhelmed by the sheer amount of documentation we have at AWS. Not that there's anything wrong with coding by looking up API calls and such, it's just that we wanted to make it simpler. That's where a workshop we created comes in handy. It shows you exactly how to set up your first IoT device and the steps required to connect it to AWS IoT Core, the entry point to the AWS IoT ecosystem. AWS IoT Core lets you connect IoT devices to the AWS cloud without the need to provision or manage servers. AWS IoT Core can support billions of devices and trillions of messages and can process and route those messages to AWS endpoints and to other devices reliably and securely. With AWS IoT Core, your applications can keep track of and communicate with all your devices all the time, even when they aren't connected. Back to the workshop, which is hosted on GitHub. You can get to it via this tiny URL shortcut. Once you navigate there, you should see something similar to this screen. If you look at the architecture, you'll be using an actual ESP32 microcontroller, which has an onboard LED and buttons that you can press. You will connect the ESP32 to AWS IoT Core and then use AWS Lambda to send messages to Amazon Simple Notification Service. Eventually, you'll receive notifications either via email or on your own smartphone via SMS. Exciting stuff. Now, we don't have time to walk through the whole workshop, but let's touch upon some of the steps in Lab 1, which involves getting the LED to blink. Mind you, this assumes you've done Lab 0, which entails setting up your development environment and device. I've already gone through those steps, and you can see my ESP32 connected to my laptop. I've pasted the code in my Arduino IDE, and if we look at the code, we are firstly setting up a constant to define what pin the LED is mapped to. In this case, it's 2, but if you buy a different device, it could be at a different address. We have 2 methods that are relevant in Arduino, setup and loop. Setup is run once on initialization, and loop continuously runs once setup is complete. In our setup method, we are setting the LED pin to the output mode, which will allow us to turn the LED on and off with further commands. We are also initializing our serial monitor, which allows us to log to it. In loop, we alternate between turning the LED on and off. The first line tells the device to do a write to the LED pin with the value of high. This will turn the LED on. We then log that we've turned the device on in the serial monitor itself. Next, we wait 5,000 milliseconds or 5 seconds, and then we go into a similar process of turning the LED off, logging it and waiting another 5 seconds. Now, if we upload the code to our device, we can see it logging to our serial monitor. More interestingly, if we look at the ESP32, the LED turns on and off 5 seconds at a time. You can see right now it's turned on. In 5 seconds time, turns off. And if you remember, the loop method runs continuously. So this process repeats. So you can see the LED turning on once again and off. Now that we've gone through a small bit of the lab, I recommend you finish off the workshop and let your mind run wild with the possibilities once you connect your first device to AWS. And to give you an example of what is possible, let's take a look at this.
Dollhouse. Dollhouse.
It's got some moving parts and it's actually already connected to the AWS IoT core. Now, if we go to my laptop, you can see I've got a small app running in the AWS cloud, which allows me to interact with my dollhouse. I can control all of the aforementioned components. I can change the color of the LEDs, turn the fan off and on, and even control the TV, all via IoT. Let's click a few of the buttons and see what happens. Let's start with the fan. We can actually turn it on, and we can turn it off. Let's change the color of the LEDs. We'll click on red, and our lights have changed to red. We'll click on blue, and voila, we've got blue LEDs. We'll now click on green. Once again, the colors change accordingly. We can change the channel of the TV. So if I click up, it'll change the channel to the next available channel, and we can go down. The best part is you can interact interchangeably, and you don't have to just interact with one device at a time. So we can mix and match. Turn the fan on, turn the fan off, change the LED, turn the TV on, change the channel, change the LED color, and keep going. Quite cool, right? I know my nieces are amped, and if they are watching, hi Mila, hi Kira. Now, before we end this segment, let's take a look at the architecture involved in this process. If we bring up the diagram and start on the left, we can see the various components connected to our ESP32. For simplicity, we have shown one on the diagram. The ESP32s are connected to the AWS IoT core in a bi-directional manner. This means they can send and receive messages. This is done by subscribing to an AWS IoT topic for receiving messages and publishing to another topic to send messages. To interact with the ESP32, we connect to our app, which is hosted in AWS Amplify, and we log in with an Amazon Cognito user. This is so that we secure the application and only allow authenticated users to use it. We then interact with the app, which is actually written in React, and this propagates to the AWS IoT core and then to the ESP32 devices themselves. I hope that gives you an idea of what is possible. And if you have any cool things that you've built, we'd love to hear from you. Please contact us for a chance to be featured on the show. Thanks again for learning along with me.
Welcome back, and to everyone who just joined us on Twitch, this is All Things AWS, and we're talking about the Internet of Things, or IoT. And I gotta see, there's some good engagement here on Twitch. Mother of Ivar saying, was that a Matrix twin? Yes, it was indeed, it was. And seems like a lot of people love that TV. So Lima asked, how can you connect IoT and in fact, I think I saw it a bit earlier, was someone asking about how do you connect IoT and machine learning. And what you can do is you can link AWS IoT Greengrass with Amazon SageMaker Neo. And by link, you train your model and then you can deploy it using machine learning inference. But I got to tell you, that dollhouse was really fun to put together. Building the actual house itself and then assembling and securing the components inside. I know some people mentioned Raspberry Pis, but I used several ESP32s to control everything. And it seems like everyone's wondering about the best part, so I got to take it out. It's that little TV, and I just want to show everyone here. Let's see if we can turn it on. Yep, there we go. And I really like this product. As you can buy it. It's a kit, and you assemble it yourself. You can even paint it to look like a vintage TV. And after you've assembled and maybe painted it, you put your content on it, and it mimics a real TV. It comes with the remote control, which, and you can increase the volume. Yep, it's got a tiny speaker. I don't know if you can hear it through my microphone here. And just like the remote controls for a real TV, I can't actually seem to find the one that I have for this one, and it must be lost in my couch. But anyway, what might have not been as evident is that this TV is not IoT enabled out of the box. You load content onto an SD card, but you cannot interact with it directly with AWS IoT. I don't know if anyone picked up on that. Can we have a link to the TV? We'll definitely get you a link to a TV. You can search for it. It's a mini TV is how I found it. But again, we'll get you a link to that. Is the remote to scale? Actually, yes, it's a mini remote. It's a mini remote. But look, you load the content onto an SD card. And like I said, you can't interact with AWS IoT. But the way I got around it is by using an infrared LED or light emitting diode. It's the same thing most TV remotes use to control the TV in your house, and then I programmed it to use the same codes as the mini remote control that came with the TV. And boom, IoT-enabled TV. I really like this. Let me change the channel. Let's see. Oh, we can change the channel. Yeah, okay, see, we got a different channel here. And I think I should totally take this on my next flight. What do you guys think? I mean, though it doesn't have a headphone jack, so I don't think the people sitting next to me will enjoy that. But imagine just putting the TV there and then looking at it, and it's like cool. It's a cool TV, right? I mean, you can see it's hilarious, but I love it. I love it, this TV. But with the dollhouse, the only thing that I need to do now is, I think, get better furniture. Any viewers out there played around with Arduino and AWS IoT? What cool projects have you done? Let us know. In fact, have you built a dollhouse? I mean, let's see. Oh, only way to watch June, Mother of Ivar. Yes, on that tiny TV. That'll be awesome. People can hear it. That's even funnier. Okay, well, I turned it off there. Jayapram, we'll have to share the IoT Greengrass example with you. Oh, there we go. Someone found the kit. Even better. So is the same way to control a big screen, ESP32, IR LED, IoT Core Amplifier. You could do that. I think it's Lima 3000. You could, in fact, do that. But look, I got to ask, what's everyone's stance on soldering? I am a breadboard person myself, and I would rather make a plan to breadboard something than solder it. And mind you, I have tried soldering before. And yes, I did make the mistake of holding it incorrectly and burn myself. I mean, ouch. Maybe that's why I'm adverse for it, like towards it. But what's the saying? Once burned, twice shy of soldering. Anyone out there in the chat have any horror stories on soldering? I mean, it's close to Halloween here in the States, so maybe you have a spooky story to share. Awesome ghost stories. Please let us know. I saw some jokes coming in through there, which is quite nice. So keep them coming. Solder with an L. Yes, there you go. Solder. Breadboard, please. You might let out the magic blue smoke. Todd Baron Amos on AWS. Okay. Though look, actually, that reminds me of a funny story from university. I took a course on electrical engineering at my alma mater, the University of Cape Town. Go Marties! And they asked us to make sure we bring our breadboards to the lecture on Monday. So naturally, I was like, okay, I got to pack mine up on Sunday in case it's most likely being used during the weekend. I mean, that's the first clue. So Monday comes round, and I leisurely walk into the lecture, sit down, and then immediately realize, oh no, I forgot my breadboard. So just picture this, right? Me sitting in a lecture theater with 100 plus students, and I was stressing because I was like, I'm going to get in trouble. So I kept very quiet. I was like, shh. Then the lecture starts, and the lecturer asks people to hold up their breadboards, and people obviously show their breadboards. And then you can just imagine, I sit there even more sheepishly, right? And I'm beyond thankful I forgot mine. Why? Because I was going to bring an actual breadboard. You know the one you cut bread on? It's also called a cutting board in some places. I thought that's what they meant by breadboard. So I don't know if anyone's had that experience either. And look, I felt so embarrassed that nobody knew what was going on, but I was like very embarrassed. And the guy next to me, he looks at me and he's like, man, I'm so glad I forgot to pack my mom's cutting board because I thought that was a breadboard. And I obviously totally laughed at him and played it off like, oh yeah, glad you didn't do that. People would have laughed at you in class. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here equally red-faced. And mind you, I did eventually confess to him later on, and we bonded over our silliness. But any funny stories from university that anyone has? Bonus points if they involve a cutting board or breadboard. Let's see, favorite IoT project. Robster's pasted their favorite IoT project. Solid assemblies. We got You Never Have Enough Flux. I say it with the L and get schooled. I'm wrong. Demon Dog Sports. And what DTS says, ended up blocking my soldering gun tips with solder metal. See, that's what happens to me. But this story actually makes me think of one of my favorite products that helps you or helps me keep productive. Take a look at this. At AWS, we are always innovating on behalf of our customers. And this is truly a giant step forward in terms of innovation. Therefore, we are proud to announce AWS Deep Pants as the first IoT and AI-enabled pair of pants in the world.
Thanks, Deep Pants!
I forgot my wallet in my car again. Thanks, Deep Pants.
Time's up!
Look, Deep Pants is going to revolutionize the clothing industry, people. No more missed meetings, no more forgotten items in the car. Seriously, I gotta get myself another pair. I mean, can you imagine if your whole wardrobe was IoT enabled? All your clothing could be connected and you could get suggestions on what to wear on your smartphone based on what's in your closet. I mean, what's your favorite IoT-enabled piece of clothing? Let us know in the chat. And I think we've got some good engagement here. Vergans 2020 is asking, actually, Rudy does build this. Yes, the workshop that we talked about and we linked to is a workshop I created. And yeah, I play around with all these devices, get them up and running. Where Coco Rules asks, and Big Jimmy, where can I get a pair of Deep Pants? Well, we're going to have to paste that link fairly soon. Top Barrow asks, an IoT toilet? I don't see why not. Well, you're just sitting there and you can remotely flush your toilet. Sounds good to me. IoT belts, yeah, wearable connector. Okay, just a joke. But look, if anyone is looking to build this IoT-enabled fashion extravaganza, you're going to need an easy way for all the pieces of clothing to communicate with each other. And especially if you want them to remain operable when not connected to the internet. And a few folks have mentioned this in the chat. Wouldn't you know it, we have an AWS IoT service for just this use case. AWS IoT Greengrass. So say we have IoT-enabled shoes, pants, a shirt, and belt. We could deploy Greengrass on the belt and make that what we call an AWS IoT Greengrass core. That means it maintains the connection to AWS, and it also acts as a gateway for the other devices. Therefore, the shoes, the pants, the shirt, they can communicate with each other through that belt and send each other's messages locally. And if they need to send a message to AWS, they send it to the belt, and the belt will route it to AWS. This means you only need to maintain one connection to AWS for the core, and all other communication is done locally. Less connections to manage, and you get the functionality of IoT offline. I mean, maybe you're attending a fancy dress event in a ballroom and there's no internet connectivity. No problem, because your AWS IoT Greengrass core on your belt has you covered. Maybe people out there can embed each piece of clothing with LEDs, and then when you want to change the color of your outfit, you can do that even though your core is technically offline. Okay, and I'm actually curious if anyone is considering building this kind of ecosystem. Anyone thinking of giving this a go? Let me know in the chat or ping me directly. We see Oni Kaje saying, Rudy's an awesome builder, thank you. Ryder Choi, feel like Batman, I like that. And Tony Stark glasses from the Dude Father, thank you. Pin like a Star Trek communicator. Yes, Ryder Choi, that is exactly it. In fact, since we're on the topic of IoT-enabled clothing and belts, I think it's about time we head to sunny Austin, Texas, where I'll be speaking with one of our customers about, yep, you guessed it, a smart belt. Transform and roll out, partners. Thanks, Rudy. We're here in Austin, Texas. Yeehaw! With Colin Davies from Modjoul. Hey, Colin, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rudy. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, awesome, man. Well, look, I mean, you brought some good weather with you. I see it's nice and sunny. But tell us more what you do at Modjoul.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a data scientist at Modjoul. Modjoul, at its core, is an analytics company. We sort of built upon a platform of IoT that allows us to collect a lot of data, and then we leverage that data to add value. Millions of people each year get injured at work. And to be honest, getting injured at work while you're trying to provide for your family should be a thing of the past. You know, you should be able to go home.
Fair enough, yeah.
When you leave, your kids should see you, and when you return home, you should sort of be in the same state you were when you left for work that day. What we do in a lot of ways is provide a window into a part of the workplace the company's never really got access to previously. We log a lot of key metrics related to workplace movement. And then on top of that, we sort of provide feedback where we can say, hey, this is a risky behavior or a behavior that introduces more likelihood of injury while you're at work. And so we can give them feedback sort of in real time.
So what kind of activities, if you give us an example of things? I mean,
Yeah.
I heard one of them is climbing a ladder. Is that correct? That's the one that...
Depending on your workplace, that could be the thing. I guess if you look at the statistics, a lot of
Yeah.
people get injured in the lumbar region,
Okay.
so the back. A lot of companies where you're doing bending motions, twisting motions, where you're picking up things that are maybe heavy or heavier than you should pick up on your own, you're prone to injury. So we sort of focused our technology on this major muscle group in the back. And not only does it contribute to a lot of injuries, it contributes to a large portion of the expenses related to injuries. And then you can imagine if you hurt your back, it's not just a minor inconvenience, it can be sort of this lifelong problem that affects how you play with your kids or engage in activities on the weekend.
Like, oh, it looks like you've got your device on you here. Is this the so-called smart belt?
Yeah, this is it. You can imagine if you're trying to keep track of something like shoulder movement, it might make sense to put a sensor on your shoulder. We're keeping track primarily of things related to the lumbar, so it makes sense to put the sensor around your waist.
So as close to it as possible.
This is our smart belt. It's pretty easy to deploy, and so that's a great sort of entryway into the workplace. This one has a green light on, so you can tell it's on, it's working.
That's a good sign, right?
Yeah, it'll actually vibrate and provide what we call haptic feedback, just a response, so that you understand, hey, I'm performing a bend that is introducing me to more risk than I need. Maybe I could bend with my legs, sort of lift with my legs rather than bend with my back.
You just want to be safe. And like you said, you want to take care of workers, proactively make sure that they're doing activities safely.
Yeah, and it's something that what we've experienced is with just a little bit of planning up front, you can prevent a lot of these injuries that seem pretty small in the moment, and they're things that sort of compound as you injure your back. It takes a long time to recover, so likelihood is you continue to sort of deal with an injured state for a long time. So if you do a little bit of planning up front, you can wear a device that just tips you off, like, hey, this is a movement that I could, if I could get rid of this movement in my daily routine at work, I could be better off for that.
Well, the burning question I also have is, how has AWS helped you on this journey with Modjoul?
Yeah, definitely. So we have a hardware device that's linked to the cloud. And AWS has been very important for us, primarily because we use a lot of different services, and we're a small team with data needs that scale on a daily or hourly basis, depending on how our customers are using the belt. You can set it up to upload to the cloud in real time. So throughout the day, as you're wearing your belt, data is being transferred to a platform. We're processing it, running machine learning models to understand what the data means. Or we can just collect data on the belt throughout your shift, and at the end of your shift, when you return it to our charging station, then data uploads.
Okay.
So you can imagine if 100 people in their shift at the same time, you're going to have a large stream of data.
Okay.
And so a lot of the things that are sort of just core to AWS, like EC2 instances with elasticity that scale. We use S3 for storage. We use AWS Batch for uploading data to the cloud, and AWS IoT. That's sort of a key or core tenet to our suite of services that we use. And so these are all things that allow us to adjust to the sort of moving target of our customers' needs, but they're also really important for how our company is structured. We're a technology company, and so we have the option to be working throughout the US, and our customers are throughout the US and around the world.
Can you tell me, for other people, what would you recommend they start with? Would it be a specific AWS service or an initiatives? What's your recommendations around that?
Yeah, definitely. I think sort of in a holistic sense, it makes sense to understand what your customers need, or what your potential customers need. The next best step is just to start with something. And I think AWS provides a great platform to do that, because you're not locking in to a bunch of infrastructure that you have to purchase up front.
There you go.
You're sort of just getting your toes wet. And if you find, hey, this is a service that, come to find out, we don't need, you can quickly shut that down and move on to something else. And sort of, you didn't lose much. Once you collect the data, AWS services are sort of universal in a large sense. If you have data, you need to upload it. AWS has a product, a service that helps you with that. If you need to run machine learning models, we use AWS Lambda to execute these scripts on a schedule, and that provides a scalable and easy to maintain way to do that. And so I think that there are a lot of perks or a lot of easy pushes from AWS to sort of get you started, to get you taking steps, and as you take steps, you're going to gain momentum and sort of figure out what exactly is the best path for you moving forward. But I think sometimes it's very easy, even for myself, to overthink what you're going to do and never take steps of action. AWS sort of reduces friction, sort of like greases the railroad track, so that you can just sort of start moving, but it also provides a lot of flexibility or agility as you're taking steps. You can always adjust.
And without you even realizing it, you're teaching people at the moment. They're learning from what your company is doing just from this interview. But I'll say thanks for joining us. But before we go, can I get a yeehaw?
Oh yeah, yeehaw!
Okay, cool. Colin Davies from Modjoul, folks. And I'll say, come back, y'all. Modjoul is doing some really interesting things in the safety space, so I urge you to check them out if you're a company that wants to help your workers stay safe. And it's so cool to see the engagement in Twitch still. Yes, I think someone might have asked about IoT security or security of IoT devices, and what you can use is device certificates to secure your devices, apart from mutual authentication and encryption. And look, while it's always fun to see what IoT customers are doing on AWS, I am always reminded of video games. Like, think about it, right? A smart belt? Who has a smart belt? I think Ryder Choi had it already. Okay, not a smart belt, but a utility belt. So you know what I'm talking about, right? You know. That's right. The Caped Crusader himself, Batman. And in my case, that reminds me of two video games featuring the world's greatest detective. So the first is a 2D scroller Game Boy game from back in the day based on the Batman 1989 film. For me, that game was epic, and you could play it on the go. I mean, who remembers the original Game Boy on the chat here? So freaking cool. And the batarangs were my favorite part of the game because they would boomerang and come back. So apart from that, the more recent one, as in a few years ago, is the PC and console game called Arkham Asylum. Look, it's totally different gameplay styles, but it's immersive. And me personally, I never did collect all the trophies. But the fact that they had Mark Hamill as the Joker, we salute you, Mr. Hamill, for your amazing portrayal that extends from the Batman animated series. But yeah, look, Anyone in the chat remember these games? What's your favorite Batman game? Todd Barrow, I Am Rude Man. That's a good one. I like it. Shoran says Donkey Kong. BC next one is Tetris Ruled. See, these are some epically like classic games. Pokemon Red from Lima there 3000. Cool. And look, the real reason I bring this up or bring games up is I am convinced Batman would benefit from integrating AWS IoT into his utility belt. With this integration, he could know just from glancing at his risk communicator whether he has a certain item in his belt. Better yet, if he's running low on stock of, say, batarangs, yeah, I really love batarangs. I mean, whew. But anyway, he can have AWS IoT send an MQTT message to the Batcave, and this would trigger a reorder from Amazon.com. I mean, you know they must have Amazon in Gotham. Though look, now that I think about it, he probably would use Lucius Fox so as to maintain secrecy. And I mean, look, you can't be like, let me order batarangs to the Wayne Mansion or shark repellent. No. Look, I digress. Look, the more I think about it, the more I realize he could use AWS IoT Twin Maker, which was mentioned in the Twitch chat, to test out functionality of taking items taking items out of his belt, and along with using them. So if you don't know, AWS IoT Twin Maker is an AWS service that allows you to create digital twins of a real-world system. In this case, his utility belt. And why would he do that? Well, because it's probably very expensive to have lots of belts lying around. It is more cost-effective if he simply simulates the belt in Twin Maker, and then he can test out the functionality in the virtual world. And folks, don't be discouraged by virtual, because virtual in this case means a fully immersive 3D view. So not just a static drawing. Also, people have mentioned this as well, security is a priority for AWS. Nobody else will be able to inspect that data. So only Batman. Well, probably Lucius Fox and maybe Alfred, if he gives him or gives them a username and password. But look, anyone in the chat using Twin Maker already? What would you make a digital twin out of? Oh, it seems like people are still talking about games. I love it. Ultraman, Mario Classic, Ultima Online. Wow, that is back in the day. Looks like some people are having fun talking about what games they were playing. Therefore, I think it's about time we bring out our musical component of the show. It's one from a few years ago. That's right, folks. The only musical instrument we've released thus far. AWS Deep Composer.
Yo, level uppers, it's that time again. Coming to you live and in style. It's Level Up! My name is Rudy, and we're coming to you fresh to rap about costs and helping customers pay less. First up is something that will surely impress. It's called GP3 and it lives in EBS. Savings of 20% over GP2. This will cause many customers to save a few. Total cost of ownership is what it's all about, and savings to services that customers use throughout. Home and more, cause ML's where it's at. Oh man, I gotta make sure to feed my cat. After that, we'll dive into Compute Optimizer to learn about savings customers realize. Next up, we'll go into EC2 Spot to optimize workloads and show customers what's hot. After that, we'll touch upon savings plan, so we always lend customers a helping hand. At the end, I hope you've learned something new that you can use to enrich your customers' view. Just remember my cool rhyme and mention this epic rap. Phew, that's it. Wow, now I can take a nap.
Wow, that was cool. I mean, look, I was going to play you a symphony on Deep Composer, but that didn't happen. But can you believe that we've gotten through our second episode? So many things are already connected in our world, like cell phones, sensors, cars, and our world is only getting more and more connected. Therefore, I'm glad you got a taste of what's possible with the Internet of Things. Better yet, if you're looking for free IoT training, please check this QR code out as well. It links to the AWS Skill Builder website. So we'll leave it up a bit there. Oh, someone's mentioning the keyboard and phone aren't connected, but don't worry about it. We'll make it work. It's all wireless. But look, I can't forget the kick-ass musical guest, Puff Rudy, a rapper straight out of the 90s, dropping some sick AWS rhymes. Wiki. Anyway, be sure to hit us up on social media channels if you'd like to see certain content, or maybe you have a sketch idea. Actually, in the chat, who would want us to, who would you want us to interview on our next episode? I think we should personally reach for the stars. So maybe, what do you think, Jeff Barr? I mean, he's a swell guy. I bet he'd be keen to stop by the studio. Looks like we got some engagement here. Just the weird Rudy from Todd Barrow. Who wrote the lyrics? NetSpeed is asking. I wrote the lyrics, actually. Oh, look, maybe you as an AWS customer or learner would love to share your story. Please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Send me a message. You can even add me as a connection so that we can stay in touch and you can see when the next episode is airing. But let's see if we had any other suggestions here. Yeah, oh, Jeff, someone says Jeff Bezos, Jeff Barr. Yes, Jeff Barr, okay. Look, also, I want to mention that I'll be at AWS reInvent this year. So if you're going, please come say hi. I'll be doing a show called Live from reInvent at our Twitch booth. And if you stop by, you'll get a chance to secure your very own Rudy swag. So let's take some of that out here. See, look, we've got all sorts of things under the desk today. But more importantly, we have these fancy stickers. We've got some socks. We even have some T-shirts. Some T-shirts, see? There's and different colors. We have different colors. So let us know and come to reInvent. You might get some. Look, hope to see you there if you are going. And I must say, Twitch, it's sad to say, but with that, I'd like to thank Colin from Modjoul, Ivar the Destructor, the cast and crew, AWS, and of course you, the viewers. Hopefully you've learned a bit more about AWS IoT and how you can utilize it to accomplish your workloads. Good luck and can't wait to see what you come up with next. Once again, I am Rudy Chetty and we'll be back in January 2023 for the next episode of All Things AWS, recapping reInvent. Ngiyabonga Gakulu. Thank you very much and see you soon.